DSTV is in hot water with the Ghanaian government over prices. But is this really about helping consumers, or just another case of the government stepping into a market with no real plan? If this sounds familiar, it's because we've seen it before with MTN-ish. So let's talk about DSTV pricing, power, and why the Ghanaian tech and media space depends on getting this balance right. So let's break it down. On the 4th of July 2025, Communication Minister Honorable Sam George met with DSTV's parent company, MultiChoice Ghana. Essentially, he told them to cut their subscription prices by about 30%. Why? Because he says that the CD gained value over recent months, but DSTV prices haven't come down as well. So he gave them a deadline, 21st July. And DSTV responded with a 9-page letter essentially saying no, but they should find a different solution. The reason is that they say that the CD has lost over 240% of its value since 2017, and that the recent bounce may be a fluke, but they responded again and said they didn't actually call it a fluke. Then on August 1st, the minister warned that if DSTV didn't reduce their prices, the NCA, which is the National Communications Authority, should suspend their license by August 7th. But here's something that is worth noting. By law, the NCA cannot just suspend a license overnight. Under Section 13 of the Electronic Communication Act 775, the NCA is required to give the license holder 30 days written notice, explain the reasons, and then give them a chance to respond or fix the situation. So this isn't just policy, it's actually binding. So even if the suspension is on the table, there's a clear legal process that needs to be followed. But one of the major complaints that the minister gave was that Ghanaian customers pay about $83 per month for DSTV Premium, while Nigerians pay about $29 for the same thing. But DSTV argues that Ghana's operating environment, especially its tax burden, is very different from Nigeria. And I think they have a point. Now look, DSTV isn't perfect. Prices are high, and for many Ghanaians, that's frustrating. But we also have to be very fair. For a lot of households, right, DSTV is one of the few ways to access premium international content, especially football. If you want Premier League, Champions League, AFCON, Formula 1, and you want it live in high quality without any of the illegal shenanigans, you need DSTV. And here's the thing. DSTV pays millions to secure the rights to that content. Ghanaian broadcasters are actually free to compete. They could bid for the same content, but they don't. And we all know the reason why. Because it's expensive. And it takes very serious infrastructure to kind of deliver that service at scale. DSTV decided to take that risk. They built the system, they bought the rights, and they made the content available across the country. So we can talk about fair pricing, but DSTV isn't charging high prices for nothing. I just feel like I needed to state that. They're providing real value that almost no one in Ghana is stepping up to deliver. But for me, one of the major points being left out is that when people compare DSTV prices in Ghana to Nigeria or South Africa, they're actually forgetting that not everything is equal. And it's quite surprising that not enough people are talking about it. One of the biggest factors that they keep mentioning is tax. In Ghana, DSTV pays nearly 28% in taxes on the base price compared to Nigeria's 7.5%. And that's a huge difference, and it explains a big part of the price gap. So you can't just copy and paste prices across countries without looking at the full picture. And I believe that if the government wants to really help consumers, the answer isn't to stretching companies every few months. It's actually to build better laws, create real competition, and probably lower the tax burden that makes everything expensive in the first place. Now here comes the most important part, at least for me. Government still doesn't have a consumer protection and competition law. The bill was drafted in 2019, but it was never passed. So what does that mean? It means that there is no strong law that forces companies to treat customers fairly or stops one company from controlling the entire market. So consumer protection deals with things like fair pricing, product quality, customer complaints, and then the competition law stops companies from overcharging and forming monopolies or blocking new players from entering the market. What I'm trying to say is that these are the kinds of rules that the minister is trying to enforce. But without the laws in place, it is very hard to make them stick. Now, yes, government pressure can be useful. It shows that someone is actually listening. It also forces companies like the DSTV to actually respond, and I think that's great for everybody. But the truth is that this isn't a long-term fix. Because what happens when a new minister comes in? DSTV could sue, then investors will get nervous. And let's be honest, DSTV still holds a monopoly on premium content, especially sports. And without the rights laws in place, there is no reliable system to prevent this from happening again. So what should Ghana be doing instead? I actually believe that the minister genuinely wants to help, and that is pretty great, right? But I think we need more sustainable ways to handle this, because I've seen how this plays out. You saw this with MTN being declared as a significant market power, which led to a whole mess of unclear policies and investor hesitation. And if this keeps happening, tech and media investors will start thinking twice about Ghana, not because they're afraid of competition, but because the rules on the market aren't clear. So here's what I think Ghana should be focusing on. Let's just pass the competition and consumer protection laws, because that is how you regulate prices, not through threats, but through proper structures. Another way we could do is to lower the tax burdens of these companies, because if we want prices to go down, we can't be charging 29% on the tax and expecting Nigeria level pricing. It doesn't work like that. We could also support real competition. If we want DSTV to have competition, we have to build our local platforms and make sure they have a fair shot at competing for the content rights, especially with sports. And the final thing I'll probably say, which is quite obvious, is that let's make the system transparent. If you are paying for levies and taxes on content, show us where the money goes to, because that's how we build a fair system. Not just threatening companies, but by fixing the rules that makes the situation possible in the first place. Look, I think that Minister Samjo's action actually comes from the right place, but I think that it's also a short-term fix. And if we want long-term solutions, we need to be thinking long-term in terms of the things we put in place. And guys, please, let's not make this about politics. I don't really care if Party A or Party B is in power, as long as they're held accountable and do the right thing. Myself and a lot of others, I'm sure we are all very happy when that happens. So if you're a young person planning to drag this conversation into party lines, please leave this place. We need thinkers who are ready to find solutions to Ghana's problems, not just cheerleaders in party costumes. Please, let's be serious. So if you've got any ideas on how we can manage the situation better, please leave it in the comment section. I think that we should all check it out and then make Ghana better together. To be honest, deciding to make this video wasn't easy. I think that a lot of people know this channel to be about technology, and DSTV and government might not seem techy on the surface, but it actually is. We are talking about media infrastructure, we're talking about content access, we're talking about regulation and digital market and how companies would operate under government pressure and all those things. So it isn't just about TV, it's about the future of telecommunications, the future of streaming and digital business in Ghana. And so yes, I think it matters in the tech space, and I think we need to talk about it. And for me, the consumer and competition protection laws have to be passed to make this a thing of the past, because again, with all those laws in place, we have structure and all the companies know what to follow, and then when they flout it, and then we can punish them, so to speak. But I'm Michelle Monroe, and I'll see you next time.